So what is inclusive education that everybody is talking about, and that there are so many big projects planned in Uzbekistan? Basically, inclusive education is about quality education, and quality education not only for the most bright children, the most gifted children, but really for all children. And this is a way of teaching and a way of studying in schools that has proved to be very effective, and by the most advanced and best performing education systems in the world, inclusive education has been adopted. Because it ensures access to all and access to education for all children, and it's not just access, it's also participating in all the events, being part of a group, and it's also about, by the time you end your schooling, that you can show that you learn something which is meaningful for you to enter a profession, but also to relate to people in the open society, and to be able to find a position in the labor market. So it's, of course it sounds very easy, but it does not just involve putting children in regular schools. It also involves revising the curriculum so that it's more flexible, so that the children can access it and can learn at their own pace. It also means changing the assessment systems from having very fixed standards to having more flexible standards that can really help children also then to further learn, and not only to grade them, you're good, you're not good, or you're the best, or you're the worst. So it's a change of paradigm that we're all working towards in the world, in different countries, and it will take a lot of time. It's not something that is done on top of doing everything else. It has an effect on everything that is done in the education system. There are already inclusive classrooms in Uzbekistan. I've just visited 2 of them this week, and it was wonderful to see the highly talented and motivated teachers who were able not only to reach all children in their classroom, but also to ensure good relationships between the students. And I think this is something very, very important, because being part of a community is really the first step into being able to learn. And this ultimately, obviously, is what you want children to be able to do. The challenges, of course, is that maybe not all teachers are equally committed and equally talented to just intuitively do the right thing. So spreading this good practice across the entire country will certainly be a challenge. Also currently, these teachers are not receiving any support other than the moral support from their director, which is very important, but clearly there has to be a support system so that not only 2 classes in one school can do this practice, but that there is a support system to support also teachers who may need more knowledge, more techniques, more methodology to be able to include children with diverse needs. There is a thought of opening resource rooms, so separate rooms where you put all the children who have a disability, no matter what the disability is, as an alternative way of including children in regular schools rather than have inclusive classrooms. if all children have one particular need to learn something, for example, if you have 3 or 4 children who are deaf in one big school, then it may make sense to take them to a smaller room and to teach them the special techniques that the other children don't necessarily need to learn. Or where some children are in need of specific support for reading, it may make sense to take those children for those hours to this particular classroom, so that they can really get the specialized instruction that they need from a specialist. But it certainly does not make sense to just put all children who are problematic in one room, because they will not be able to learn from each other, and the classroom will be very difficult to manage. And so I would strongly advise against having fixed, isolated resource rooms, even if they're Inklyuziv in a kind of regular school. So what is needed, or what needs to be different from the way schools work today, or what is the way forward towards inclusive education? And I think one important point is the mindset of teachers. In the time that I was here, I heard a lot, many teachers were talking about, oh, this is a healthy child, this is a, so to say, unhealthy child. And I think that shows that there is still a strong belief in the medical approach that children who have an impairment are not well, are unhealthy, and therefore need support by medical people. For some children that may be the case, that they need medication, or they need specialized training by medical rehabilitation staff. But in most cases this is really not true. There are children who have the same needs for relating to other people, have the same needs to be loved, to be part of a community just like anyone else. So I believe that there needs to be a shift in the mindset to see children with disabilities not as a child with Down syndrome, but a child with particular personality, with particular talents, and with particular potential to learn and passions, and that they can, with support, of course, achieve what they are striving towards if they are supported. Another difficulty, I think, is to maintain high quality education for children with diverse needs. So if a teacher, for example, has made 3-year or 5-year experience with a child that has cerebral palsy, knows exactly now in a regular classroom how to support that child. And if then that teacher receives a child with autism, the expertise needed is very different. So there needs to be a sustainable service to support regular teachers, even if they don't themselves have the specialist knowledge, so that they are able to best teach the children with particular needs in their regular classroom. I've heard in the time that I was here many people talking about social pedagogues, that social pedagogues would be the solution if only we had social pedagogues in the school, problems would be solved. Well, they think they may be able to support the student, or they may be able to support the teacher, but those are already two very different roles. So I think it will be important to know what are they really expected to do, for which problems will they be responsible to solve, why are they in the classroom. So for example, are they in the classroom to ensure that the child has support when they need to go to the toilet, or when they need to eat, or when they have other issues of self-care, not being able to dress themselves. That's a totally different role from a person who actually supports a child in their learning. And there, a social pedagogue could not stand in instead of a regular teacher or a specialist. And what we've seen in many countries is that the children who actually would need the best teachers to promote their learning are dropped with the least qualified person in the classroom. And so that may be a tutor, an assistant, or a social pedagogue. So I think it's very important to first understand what is really needed to support children in the classroom, and then see what the staff that's already available can do, and then decide on what role exactly is needed, and only then will you be able to develop a curriculum for assistants, tutors, or for social pedagogues. And last, of course, the person, very, very important, and we've heard it during this week, that parents are doing so much to support their children to be able to go to regular schools or even to go to special schools. So they should be treated as equal partners in a coalition of a group of people who support the child in his or her learning. And we've heard yesterday also that many teachers actually become specialists, not only as being the parent of children with disabilities, but also as being teachers of their children. And of course, that is wonderful if they're also really knowledgeable in that way, but in the end, the parents should be the parents and the advocates of their own children, and the system should be able to provide the expertise needed in the schools. And I don't think it would be sustainable to rely on parents taking over the roles of specialists, assistants, or teachers. So these are just a few thoughts on where inclusive education could go in Uzbekistan. And I've seen so many committed people with a vision and willing to work together, which I think is one of the most important things now, that all the initiatives are brought under one shared strategies, and that the new agencies that were developed come together to clarify their role and find their space. I think it's a moment of great opportunity, and I wish Uzbekistan and the Ministry of Education and all the donors and coordinating bodies all the best for this wonderful endeavor.